Hello, Ruben at Camp Hatch here. I apologize. I've been very remiss at keeping up with progress updates on our Sienna camper van conversion and different things that we're trying there. We actually got it to the point we took a trip in it. And so I wanted to post the version of it that took that trip because we're probably going to make some changes going forward, but it was a pretty good run. So here is a little tour of the camper van in which I sit right now. I am sitting on what I call the 5/8 bed. Behind me is the passenger sliding door. There's the front passenger window. We have the WeatherTech the window covers with the black sides in. If anyone's curious, very nice set that you can get from WeatherTech. We splurged. So I'm reclining on our bed here. Let me flip this video around. I call this the 5/8 bed. That is the driver's side sliding door and the TV on which I would be watching football if I weren't making this video. I call this the 5/8 bed because as I sit here with my head against one window and my feet near the other, I am 5'8", and this bed is just long enough for me to lay down in. There we go. My feet are very much up against that door. My head is down on my pillow. I'm 5'8", and I'll do this because I feel it gives us some other floor space advantages. If I were 5'9", I'd be thinking twice. But here's the deal. I don't sleep on my back. I do not sleep face down. I tend to sleep all curled up in a ball. And when I curl up, I get shorter and I got plenty of room. This is a camper for my wife and I. She's a little bit shorter than I am, and she sleeps on this side. And she fits just great. But again, for people who like this floor plan but aren't sure about the 5'8 bed, note that you only get 5'8 between the door pillars, which are there and right behind the TV there. It's a full width full bed or double, but you don't get the length in the corners outside of the doorposts. You only get it in the middle. For both of us who like to sleep on our sides, sorry about that, on our sides, this works pretty nicely. But if you're not someone who sleeps on your side, kind of curled up in a ball, if you really don't like your head right up against the outside door, you might want to stick with what just about everybody else does. Put your bed in the other way. But I'll show you some of the things you miss out on if you go that route. So again, this is the 5'8 bed. Of course, one of the things that you're always going to be thinking about camping in a minivan is where to store things and how to get to them. We would carry a lot of things on the bed during the day. I'll show that later. And we would just keep them up front at night, either on the driver's seat, which because I have the bed this way, I can get to that really easily. And then I've got a Gen 2, so I can still fold my passenger seat down, and I can just put something right there next to my pillow that's really easy to get to. I just threw a backpack in for this video, but what I actually put there was a 3-drawer chest from Walmart that I made it down into 2 drawers so that it would fit. It would ride in the back during the day, and it would go right there next to my bed at night, and that worked out really well for us. So lots of stuff can be stored in camper mode up in the front that then goes in the back in the space where I'm at right now when we go down the road. Again, this is just a 2-person setup. Something else that I like about this setup is I've got easy access to some things here like the ignition switch. If I wanted to turn that on and crank a window down, I can shut the interior lights on and off right there. Super handy. I added some outlets on our house battery, so I do have some additional lights. There's one back here on my wife's side for reading at night. And while we're on the subject of interior lighting, I did put LEDs, bought a little kit on Amazon. I put LED interior lights in, so I'm not nearly as easily going to run the starter battery down. It's not my intention to leave these lights on at length if I'm not plugged into shore power, or I'm not charging the house battery that they're plugged into off the solar or anything like that. Excuse me, dome lights, not the house battery. They are still on the starter battery, but my DC to DC solar charger will charge my starter battery once I get the solar hooked up. I do not have solar hooked up, so we were plugged into shore power on this last trip, and we ran the dome lights, and I just had my battery charger along with me to keep the starter battery topped off with. I also have easy access to this stuff down here, which may or may, there we're pulling focus. That is the disconnect off the 200 amp hour house battery, which is under the bed. And there's my inverter charger. I pulled the center console out, put my inverter charger on the floor so shore power comes into there. I'm going to mount this up near the dash eventually. That's on off for the inverter charger. And then inverter out goes out through that breaker, which I've got on right now in case I want to power up the TV or the air conditioning. That's right, this thing is air conditioned, but I think I've got the TV plugged in. Let's see. Yeah, it's powered. You can see the light there. It's gonna make a liar out of me and not power on. That could be a dead remote battery. But oh no, there it goes. I thought that turned blue. Must be thinking of the wrong TV. So yeah, we just brought a little rabbit ear TV with us and watched a lot of football on the trip, which was an October-November trip. There's the blue light. Shut that puppy off. Yeah. Does seem like my remote battery might be going. And then this little cardboard duct was a temporary, because sitting behind my jacket here is a Medea portable air conditioner. It's venting out the rear vent window. We'll look at that from the outside. But it is circulating air inside here. We'll kick that on. I really like these Medea inverter units because they soft start. So this is running off of the inverter off the house battery right now. They soft start because everything's a variable frequency drive or inverter motor. This one has the heat pump in it, so we can actually run heat and cold in here. On vacation, we only use the cold side. I have since come out, since it's gotten a little colder, and run the heat. And adding this duct here so that the air blows out back here where we are was a really big improvement on how well this thing did cooling us down on vacation. So put the air where the people are is a good idea. All right, so that should be shutting off. Going on around here, we've got storage. This is a nice little unit. It's big enough to get 6 of these 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot cubes stores in. Those are secured for going down the road by a simple bungee net for tying a motorcycle helmet on the back seat when you're not using it. I've only got 1 cube on the bottom, and the tray, because that spot goes below the air conditioner. It goes all the way over to the wheel well. So we didn't put the cubes in it because we wanted access to the back, and that's where we put our shoes. What do I like about the 5'8" bed? It's a compromise to sleep on it, but what it gives us is a hallway. And this, we just really like this, except for having to climb in and out over my wife. I'm gonna refocus here. Thought I refocused there. Yeah, this is just great because I'm off the bed now, getting my shoes on. When you come in at night, this is where you step in, close the back door, kick off your shoes, wipe your feet, change your clothes. Let me show you something that's also nice about only being 5. Because I haven't blocked the whole width off with the bed and I've got rear door access, I've got my well back here where I was just putting my tennis shoes on. And because I've got that well, which is the lowest floor in a minivan, I can almost stand up in here. I'm not stood fully up. I'm scrunched over pretty good. If I had back pain, this would be very uncomfortable. But I can change my clothes pretty good in this thing. It's about as tall as a lot of camping tents if you've done that. So yeah, it gives you a spot to stand up and put your pants on. And that, to me, is valuable when camping, because I've done the laying down, sliding into my pants thing a lot tent camping, and well, this is pretty nice to be able to stand here and change clothes. I get a little older. I'm going to want something I can stand all the way up in. This is pretty good for now. So there we go. Putting clothes on. We use these back two here for food storage because this is our kitchen. Took all the spices out. Our table, pots and pans, refrigerator, freezer. So one reason the 5/8 bed is worth it to me is I actually have access to my kitchen in a usable way with the van completely closed. This is not great. It is not how we plan to do this all the time, but I can get to the kitchen from inside. I also have access here to, behind the cooler, a bucket that's my emergency toilet, and there's another bucket even further up behind it, behind Mr. Cooler there, that is got some stuff stored in it. So that is what we did in the back, where most people that I've seen would put a kitchen all the way across. And as seen in another video, I added a switch. That door is heavy, so that I can get out of the van from the inside. Here's a little better view then of the kitchen, the Apicool cooler, refrigerator and freezer, or just refrigerator. We ended up leaving the divider in, but ran both sides as refrigerator on the trip. That was really nice. It was really exciting to me, because I like to use every inch of space, obviously, to figure out that right behind the cooler, I could put two Tidy Cat buckets. I hear they're phasing these out. It's really sad because they're super handy. And then once that one's out, it's real easy just to reach in and pull in the second one. So that, again, is Mr. Emergency Toilet. Not the plan for everyday use, but nice to have it there when you need it. And then a little bit more on the air conditioner. This would be a 2-hose portable. So the hose would come up right off of this part right here. I've replaced that with a box that blows out, and somehow I managed to knock that down. Blows out here, and that's where I can pull it open a little further. So it blows out the top. You've got a divider, a little sheet rubber there, and it sucks in on the bottom of the vent window. I have rigged the vent window to stay open a little bit further for a little more airflow, and that's in another Camp Hatch video. Something that we found that worked really well about the van here was that in camping mode, all these other doors, all four of the front doors, just worked beautifully as sort of our closet doors. Got enough storage underneath the bed here for bag chairs and easy up, wheel jacks for camping rough. Way in there, you can just barely see it. That's the 200 amp hour LiPo battery. I wouldn't recommend anything but a lithium battery right underneath your bed like that. Probably don't want to do that with lead acid or anything that vents. But again, we would put all of our stuff up in the front seats at night. I don't have anything there, but you can get to all of it. I've got things in the door underneath my umbrella that I need a lot. I could put stuff on the floor when we were in camp mode. It really worked well to put things up here, even on the dashboard, that were easy to get to during the day, pretty easy to get to from the bed, a lot of it, and then all of it just goes on the bed for going down the road at night. So that allows us to use a lot of storage space. We also, at the back here, like if you go shopping and you just want to get it in the van and deal with it later, you know, there's space on top of the cooler, you know, for the stuff you just bought, and then there's all this space in the hallway here that can be used for going down the road stuff. So we ended up actually calling the bag chairs and the easy up canopy in this spot, because most of the time when we stopped, they were coming out. And even if that wasn't the plan, you were just stopping for lunch and wanted to get something out of the cabinet here, it was really easy just to set those things, because they're in their own bags and they're designed to go outside, to set them out and do what you need and throw them back in going down the road. So that is basically our camper van in camp mode. I did, you can just bring extension cords in, you know, around the door seals, but I did go ahead and wire in my bumper cover 120 volt coming in, and off the inverter 120 volt going out. Why 120 out? In case I want someone I'm not plugged into shore power, and especially once I get the solar installed later, I can power stuff off my solar if it happens to be installed on the van at the time. So 120 volts in and out. We'll go over the electrical system a little later, but that is the camper in camp mode. All right, a little bit about what's underneath. So our bed is a wooden frame that I built pretty simply. We bought a 4-inch mattress topper from Walmart. It's in its own little tick there. It's like 2 different densities of foam, 2 inches of each. That was pretty good, but we still were bottoming on it at night, and we wanted to sleep really comfy. And we already had some air mattresses. These are Thermarest knockoffs, but we actually sleep with those 2 on top of the wood, and then the foam topper on that. And that is a very nice night's sleep. So air mattress, foam topper for the bottoming out problem really works well. However, it did kind of mess up my plans for a scissor bed that folds up into a couch, and we'll explain why. But while I've got this open, of course we wanted some under the bed storage. I already talked about the battery. I've got my grill stove on that side, and the bag chairs, of course. I've seen a lot of people put drawers out the back because we did ours a little differently. I don't feel like I need drawers for this. I just put things under the bed that I can reach, but it's pretty easy. Like if I pull my bungees out, I can reach my toolbox there, and I can just pull that out from the side. Don't really feel like I need a drawer for it. And there's my electrical stuff. So easy storage underneath the bed, which is good because the way I framed this for a scissor bed, I don't really have top access here when I hinge this up. And here's the other side of that. I made this side so that it hinges, boom, little piano hinge, and the middle piano hinges. Don't feel that through the air mattress or the foam topper at all, the little bit of piano hinge that sticks out. Then I had a little spare rear bike rack rubber that I set up to hold that up. The idea was to make this up into a couch. This'll slide back, and I'll show you that in a minute. Not the best outcome there. And then I've got the front seats slid all the way forward, and just some real simple wood pieces cut out that block that off. Actually, the air mattresses end up I could put a piece of plywood across, but I haven't. But the air mattresses just end up right on top of the my fuse box and my breaker box. So that gray box there has all of my 12-volt fuses in it, and the positive and the negative bus. It's a tight fit, but it works. So a little bit more about the idea that didn't quite work out for living space. We fold the bed up into its couch form. We slide its support out of the way, and we've got a nice bed here. Kick back, watch some TV. It was a great idea. Problem. The problem is there's no bedding on that couch bed. We made our bed with our topper and our air mattresses so comfy and cozy that it just is too big for the scissor bed all folded up into couch mode. And it's a little bit of a hassle to do this. We tried it for going down the road, really just to have a kind of a front wall to stuff as well. But in the end, we just decided to leave the bed down as a bed. And it's really sad because, you know, I worked hard to make this slide with all the, you know, all the boards, you know, overlapping with the mating boards and all that. We really don't need it. We really didn't like it. But, you know, if you want to go with less bedding and stuff, you know, it's kind of cool. I left room for my feet to get in, you know, from this side. I made that open up so that the hallway's open to the back. Made it open here. Little end table on this side. So you're sitting on your couch, you got a place to put your stuff while you're watching some TV, and it's easy to go through this way too. But just probably an idea that is going to go away in the future because we just don't think we need it. But for the stuff that did work over at the bed, it's a very sturdy platform. I ran 1-bys of different widths between 1-bys of different widths, same thickness, and then I attached my 1/4-inch plywood to that, hinged it for my bed or my couch, but still nice to have access to stuff underneath, like the battery terminals here. If I need to disconnect a battery cable, I slide that battery just over to where I've got access in the slot right here, and I can get those terminals on and off really easily. So the construction method there, I didn't invent it, but it worked pretty good. And the 1-inch board and the 1/4-inch plywood doesn't take up a lot of vertical space, worked really well. We were really happy with the height of the bed, just high enough to put like an easy up underneath, 9-10 inches or so. But it was really intended so that we could sit up on the bed. And I didn't show you that in bed mode, but I really like being able to sit up in the bed and not have my head hit the headliner of the van. So that is how the bed was put together. May go away in the future. Of course, probably the most important thing is, how is the bed held to the floor? Well, here are my Gen 2 seat hooks. I think this changes to rails on Gen 3, can't help you. But what I did here, hang on. So what I've got, you can see the end of a J bolt that is around that seat clamp hook that's like welded into the floor, and that bolt just simply comes up through a hole that I drilled with a really long 1/4-inch bit, and up here to a hole I routed out at my board, and I put a washer and a nut on it. I went ahead and I did that on all 5 that I had access to, and it is it's really nice and solid back here. And then on the front of this bed, these frame pieces just go to a piece that goes to the ground, framed up on the sides for the support boards I showed earlier. And then in the middle, that's actually attached to the rails that I added in for my inverter charger. So, and all of that is held in by this piece of angle iron I cut here. Focus, it ain't gonna focus. Still not wanting to focus. Anyway, angle iron cut and then bolted in with some longer bolts through the seat rail bolt. Well, we should probably talk about electricity because I had fun adding a bunch of wire to my van. I can bring shore power in through this guy here. And we discovered that plugging this in at a campground 15 amp GFCI wasn't great. So I bought the adapter so I can plug into the 30 amp, and then I bought a breaker. So I've got a 15 amp breaker at the campground breaker box. But anyway, shore power in there. I set it up for 15 amps coming in. That comes up and wiring behind the body panel here. And it comes up to this single pole breaker right here. Pardon the glare, but there's a little breaker box and a little breaker that I added in there. And then it goes behind the body panel, the wiring. And it's just it's like extension cord wires, what I use. Behind that panel, following the other wire harness that's part of the van, goes underneath the door trim here, and it pops out the front. And I did had to open up the bottom of the door there just a little bit, relieve it in a couple of places to not pinch my wiring going through. And then shore power comes in and wires in to the back of my inverter. Let me see if I can get to that. So I should back out. Frame of reference, driver seat, passenger seat, center console removed, inverter charger. There's the readout. So at the back of the inverter charger, underneath this gray box, the shore power goes into the inverter, and it can charge my house battery here. When I'm plugged into shore power, or the inverter can supply 120 volt to stuff off of the battery when I don't have shore power. So what does it do? It comes out, it goes into this breaker. I put a 2-pole breaker in because inverters don't run 120 volts to neutral or ground. They run 60 volts 2 different ways. So I wanted to cut both of the 60 volt legs. So I put 2-pole in after my inverter. Doesn't cost a whole lot more, but it sure gave me some peace of mind. And then I run out to my first 120 volt outlet right off of that box. I run the wires back underneath the door, and I'd put 2 outlets in. There's one there that's got the air conditioner and the TV plugged into it. There was a great spot behind the interior panel where a junction box fit really nicely. And again, I did that all with stranded copper wiring, not solid wire like you'd put in a house. We come back to this outlet for the kitchen, and then this switch is a 2-pole on-off switch, and it feeds power coming out. So I can run some 120 volt outside of my van off of my inverter. If I'm plugged in to shore power, inverter charger has a switch, and the shore power would just come right out here. So this would act like an extension cord with a splitter on it or something, with a couple breakers and safety things and shutoffs in between. So that is the power system as it stands, except for the extra 12 volt that we put in. I put in a 12 volt down here for Mr. Refrigerator. I put in an extra 12 volt up here off of the house battery for the kitchen, because I've got a little 12-volt water pot. It takes about 45 minutes to boil water, but it'll do it. And then this is off the starter battery from Toyota. Now, I thought about just running house power to this outlet that was already here, but I left it, and I'm really glad I did. When I accidentally popped my main battery fuse on the house battery, I was able to take my refrigerator and just bring that cord up and plug it in to the starter battery outlet. And we were traveling that day, stopped by and bought a new fuse and kept the refrigerator nice and cold because I still had a 12-volt starter battery outlet at the back here near my refrigerator. So that was a good decision that I realized after the fact why I really still wanted some starter battery 12-volt back here. Didn't know quite where I'd want to put them, so this one's a command stripped outlet with USB right there on her side of the bed. And then the other additional one, I ended up command stripping to our makeshift or makeup console on top of the inverter charger. So that ends up being on my side of the bed, also accessible for going down the road. If you want to charge your phone off of the house battery instead of the starter battery while you're driving for whatever reason. But whoever thinks they have too many USB outlets that you can plug a phone charger into. I certainly don't. So that's the power system. Again, this little gray box I'm not going to open up, but it does have a 200 amp fuse up to the disconnect, a positive bus bar, fuses that'll eventually go out to my DC to DC and solar, and fuses that go out to all this extra 12 volt. All of that's in here. It's all on its own fuses, and I was even able to squeeze in still the negative strip, although that easily could have mounted in the hole down underneath here. There, you can just barely see the little round fan cover of the inverter charger down there. Sorry, I'm not going to open that up more. I think you can see what people do pretty easily. So there you go. What else? That's a pretty good tour of the camper van because it's not that big. I will say that you can find cool storage space in these things that you might not realize is there. Really handy. I had just built a lot of this and it was untested, and we headed out on a 2-week trip. So I took underneath this seat that rode right here, I took my electric screwdriver, and my electric drill driver, or impact driver, rode on the other side because a lot of these are deck screws, put them with the impact wrench. You can see I also took screws because that box didn't make it out. Thought I'd pulled all those out, but nope, that one rode right there. You can see on that side, there's a little pocket underneath the Sienna driver's seat Gen 2. Perfect size for a set of jumper cables. So those rode there. Don't miss the opportunity of these armrest storage spaces. I've got the one on the driver's side filled with reading glasses and sunglasses. Of course, the two glove boxes, always super handy. Where was another? Oh, another thing we did. This was good. We've got a propane grill stove up underneath the bed there. I love that thing from Coleman, and we bought one of these little one burner butane propanes that's right in here in the kitchen. And so I've got all my fuel for that butane and propane over here in the broom closet with the broom. So, propane, butane, all right in there with the Mr. Fire extinguisher. And that makes a very nice place to put those gases, because I just drilled a couple of vent holes in the bottom of it. All of these fuels are heavier than air. If they leak, they're going down, they're going out the bottom of the van. And there is a body plug that was already out, probably for the trailer hitch before I bought it. The trailer wiring body plug had been popped underneath that area there. And so it's just a great place to carry fuel, and it vents, and it's right here where we want it in the kitchen. Anyway, So, all right, exciting changes coming. Just saw something we did for the WeatherTech things. I did add just a block of corrugated plastic duct taped on because these WeatherTechs, they just needed a little bit more support for the back being open, and we go in and out the back in camp mode. So those were a good add, really easy to do. That is it. Look forward to giving you the next version of the B-2. We toyed with calling it a Class D motorhome, but we decided to make it a B-2 instead because it is stealthy. So in honor of the B-2 bomber, this is the B-2 camper van because it's got a lot of RV features in it, but you can park it in a whole lot of parking lots that say no RVs, and we like that about it. Till next time.